Alrighty, right. Hello and welcome back to some more Minecraft Episode Golden Age, episode 1101. That is going to be a mouthful to say constantly. It is already a mouthful, to be honest. Alright, but hopefully you are all doing alright and staying safe. Sorry, I was fixing secondary device there. Alright, so we're going to be jumping back in to where we last left off last episode, which we were hard at work last episode, trying to add some variety to our Voxtown here, and that is primarily going to be adding layers to places to kind of make them look more normal, more mountainous. But in today's episode, I'm actually going to see if I have any dirt just scattered around. Is there a secondary chest under here? No. Okay, I just had to double check. But we're going to be adding some spice to Voxtown here today. And then I think we might go and do some other build projects very soon. We do actually need to bring some of this terrain outwards, like press it outwards, so that we can get started on another build that's supposed to go somewhere around here. But I don't know how well it's going to fit in here. I might actually make this bit come out more, so this bit presses out kind of like a pancake over here, and we build the build on top of that. Primarily it's going to be kind of like a barn-like structure. Will there actually be any animals in it? I'm not sure. I might have, like, you know, a set of like pigs or something, I'm not sure. It's really just do I put something in there or do I not put anything in there? And that is the question, I tell you. That is the question. Alright, let me go find my reference. Oop. So we're currently working on the left side of Voxtown here. And we just gotten done putting a extra layer of dirt here. We need to add the rest of it. We're way behind on that. But I actually do really like how this looks. I think I might actually make some of this terrain here come down into this, so we have more of an elevated path coming up to the abbey. Yes, it does look like a church. I have been told that. It does look like a church, but no, it's an abbey. We just build abbeys very big around here. And that is what we've done. It's a super huge abbey. Though it does not have any, like, quarters. I should really add that eventually. Maybe I should add little bits, you know, here that you can, you know, walk down, and then you could just go and down into this underground section that I would have to build all, you know, out and try and figure out how it's going to be built. But why I primarily came up here, hello there Sister Mary Alm, was to see if I have any dirt left up here from previous build projects. And I actually do have a sizable chunk. What I actually need to do is go to my other backpack, put the seeds and the wheat in there for now, and go to my grey backpack here, which has all the stony blocks. I'll put the coal blocks in there as well. And where was it? There it is. I could not find that one block there for a second. Oh, some extra dirt there that I missed. Alright, that should be enough to finish off this area, and then we'll work on trying to kinda... It's a really hard bit here. I could make it come up upwards here by making the terrain go upwards a bit more. Or we could make it go round and then slice through slowly upwards and then around. Kinda connecting up with the path over here. That would probably work a little bit better, and that means we can also get started on working on the mines area here. That I still need to actually find out some good ideas. I might actually look into my, you know, own Scottish history, I tell you, because there's a lot of mining in Scotland. Well, there used to be. There used to be, I tell you, there used to be a lot of mining in Scotland. But I'm not going into that complicated history of why there is a lot less mining. As any of you who are old enough will probably already know. But I will probably go into some of the historical pictures and see if, you know, I can find any inspiration from there. I like to take inspiration from, you know, historical stuff, as it is fun doing that, to be honest. Like, our church, I'll just call it church by now. I will be building a cathedral down in Maashalden eventually. Plan it to probably be over here. But in Maashalden, we have this area here that was built so long ago. I think if I had to rebuild it today, it would probably be a lot more, you know, massive. A lot more massive. The only problem is, this is a very expensive sandstone build. Like, you never realize how expensive sandstone is. It's super expensive. If I had to build it today, I would probably use a lot more end stone as a substitute in certain stuff. It's a little bit greener and a little bit, you know, tone. But you can mix it with a few other blocks and some smooth variants to kind of give it that gradient. So if I did have to rebuild this, you know what, that idea's now got to stick to my brain now. I feel like that would be a nice idea. But the Maashalden church is actually based off a World War I destroyed church that has actually been rebuilt. I never knew it was rebuilt when I was building it. I always said, you know what, if it was never rebuilt, you know, I might as well build it in Minecraft. And that's what I did. And then I found out that it was actually rebuilt, and it's actually the most famous Ypres, or Ypres church, being the Cloth Church. Everyone knows what the Cloth Church is, right? It is a specific church in Belgium, and Ypres, that is... I think that's where they used to sell a lot of their linen or something, I can't remember. It's been ages since I last, you know, researched it. But it was a very, you know, important church during the battle there, that it kind of just gotten destroyed over time with all of the artillery strikes on it. So it kind of became desolate and destroyed. I actually do have a picture of it that I can show you. Don't worry, there's nothing super bad in this photo. It was actually after the war, and it was by a photographer unit. Let me just load it up there. Give it a second. Okay, for some reason it's not wanting to load there. There we go. Now it's finally loaded. Was taking a little while there. Do apologise. Alright. But this is the Cloth Church in Ypres, also known as Ypres. Some people like to call it that. Ypres. And I think this is also another bit of the structure, but I'm not very sure. We do have some other older, you know, photos that are not really... I think they are in the same area, but this is the main structure that I took inspiration from. That was actually from a different picture. This was one of the pictures, but I had a distant photograph that was much more, what do you call it, grainy. That one was like high quality, to be honest. High quality. Alright. But that's where I took most of the inspiration for my Maashalden church, which I do plan on, you know, now, what do you call it, revamping it soon. I feel like that would be a fun idea. We don't actually get to spend that much time in Maashalden because the problem with having a world that's been going on for so long, I tell you, is that there's a lot to build and there's a lot of ideas that are still work in progress. I actually remember one line from another YouTuber, and it was, what was it? You have a long world, you gotta have a lot of, you know, little miscellaneous tasks to go build or fix. Especially if you're updating constantly. Luckily we don't update constantly, so a lot of my redstone, the very few that's actually in my world, is still fully intact. Except for my auto smelter, that thing broke quite fast. And I didn't even need to update for that one. I'm just slowly filling in all of this. Actually, it does not look too bad, to be honest. I never realised how, you know, nice and flat this area would be. Now, for a lot of you wondering what we're going to be using this bit and this build area for, it's actually going to be primarily very forested, I'm pretty sure. I wanted this bit to be more, you know, nature-fied, as it's the way out of town that leads up to the cathedral, not cathedral, abbey. You know what I meant. You know what I meant. But, I do really like that idea. Sorry, I got distracted there in my head. I got distracted. There we go. I'm looking forward to finishing this off. I will actually be adding a lot of gradient stuff to it to kind of make it look a little bit nicer. But what could we talk about while we're working on this? I'd actually planned to do a memorial build soon, but I don't know if we can get around to doing it with how many builds that I need to get finished by the end of the year. Volkstown is kind of just taking up most of the time, so I've kind of, you know, going to have to put it on the back burner eventually. A lot of my dirt has actually went into Volkstown now, and that kind of sucks because that means I have to go gather up more dirt. And that kind of sucks because, you know, how hard it is to get dirt sometimes. I am out of dirt. I'll use what sparing pieces we have left, and then we'll have to head on back home to replace. I had a torch. It must have been from here. I had like one extra torch, and I was wondering, like, why did I have an extra torch there? Turns out I'd accidentally broke one of the torches while filling in all this and forgot to replace it. I don't know if I put it in the right spot, but that should work. And there's also an Enderman down there. You better not steal any of my blocks, you hear me? You hear me? You can't hear me from this distance. So if he does touch any of my blocks, I will be very mad. I have to place them in like certain orders to make sure they're all nice. Luckily I don't have a, what's called, infestation of Endermen. Like, our good friend, Rat Dog. Ah, hello there, the spy! How's it going? Hopefully you're doing alright and stay safe. Hi, Tango. Can't stick around, but I thought I'd drop by to say hi. Hope the stream goes well. Thank you, thank you. Hopefully you're doing alright and staying safe, and remember to stay hydrated as well, with whatever task you're doing now. We're currently doing a bit of building in what do you call it, Jungle Paradise now. And probably for the next few streams, because I plan on streaming back to back, you know, a few of these. Let's see. Now what was I going to do there? I had a specific task that I was going to do before I headed back there, and I totally forgot about it. I totally forgot about it. You know what? Does not really matter. Does not really matter. Did you hear that, Enderman? This went into my floor! Get out my floor! Oh. Why did it go in my floor? Why did it go in my floor? I can't have peace, I tell you, from these mobs spawning in my floor. How could they? Alright, well, let us go and we'll go grab some dirt, probably somewhere around. You know, I have that many chests just scattered around my world, but Volkstown is like derelict compared to any of the other areas that have a lot of chests. I do really like how Volkstown has turned out. It really has become quite nice. We have the, what's called, little area where we have the horses, the stables. I could not remember the name there for a second. We have this building here, that building, this building. And a lot of these buildings might actually have functions, and we will probably put llamas in them. So that's going to be hilarious to gather up and also breed. Oh, sorry, I had a burp in my throat there that was just not for coming out there. I hate when that happens. Is that the same? I think that this llama, I tell you, this singular llama makes the journey all over this area, like constantly, and I don't understand how it does it. It just moves so much, because there was one up on the hill here. Yeah, it's gone. There was one up on the hill, but I think it came back down the hill, went through my village, and went all the way over here. You know what I should really do? Add doors. I should really have doors around here. If I'm being honest, the village kind of looks a little bit, you know, not the best without any doors. And you know what I could do? I could do orange doors. I haven't done acacia doors in a while. Never mind, they kind of look too, you know, singy. I think I might go with birch doors, actually. I know it's kind of like a weird, you know, different block compared to previous blocks, but I do think it would look a lot nicer. I'm kind of looking for a crafting table. Where's my crafting tables? I already know that there's one here. There's a second one all the way over there. There's always a crafting table inside, as I always say. It's quite problematic, that as well. There we go. 15 doors. I don't think that's going to be enough doors. With how many doors we have that are double the now, it's probably not going to be enough. There we go. I remember there used to be glitchy doors back in the old Minecraft. Oh, that just reminded me of that old bug. There used to be a bug that you could use, what do you call it? A certain technique of logging out in a door. Like you would trap yourself in the door, you would log out, and it would put you on top of the next area. And it was like, oh, that was like a cool bug. That was a cool bug back in the day. If any of you remember that from Minecraft, I think it was P. I think there was a similar bug in beta, but I'm not very sure. Not very sure. But it was so long ago that I can't believe I still remember that. I think that was way over 10 years now. Way over 10 years. Dang. Didn't realize how old, you know, you get sometimes. But this actually looks a lot better now. Did I actually put doors in here? No. I walked through it but never placed the doors. Alright. That actually looks a lot more cozy, to be honest. It really looks quite nice. Yeah, I like that. I like that. That's looking quite nice. Let me put the doors in here and put the, you know, birch back in there. Actually, organize it so it's all in the right order now. And we'll head on back to the house. What time are we at? We're at 18 minutes. We still have 12 minutes left before the end of the episode. Alright. So let us go and head on back to the house, where we'll go and pick up some needed material. There we go. We are back to the house. We'll actually make a little bit of a quick get down. Ow. That's a little bit too quick. Ow. Ow. My goats are gonna be laughing at me. I've made that a lot better before. I should really make the doors face inwards. That's what I should do. There we go. That looks more 3D. I really do want to upgrade this, you know, hut here. Well, this cottage that we've had for so long. It kind of been in my storage bit, but we did actually remodel a lot of the storage area. A lot of the storage area, and placed it down here, and then we moved it again and placed it over here, which now needs to be remodeled as it just does not work. It was supposed to be a kind of much more industrial kind of place, Here's how everything would have looked. Yeah, that's a lot more better organised. Also, I have torches in there. I guess that is a, you know, thing there. Don't like how it gets unorganised like that. It's almost right, you know, if this was here, that was there, it would look a little bit nice. Yeah, but I just... oh, forgot all about that. I forgot I had so much quartz. I'm seeing where I placed dirt. I don't think I've moved the dirt over. I moved a lot of things over, but I just never did, like, you know, specific things. And also, this is a dark spot. Let me light that up. Little snack. I like that everyone gets annoyed when I do that. Alright. Dirt, grass, dirt, stack. Let's see. Alright, there's nothing in there. Sorry, I just needed to do something while I was looking in that chest there. I keep confusing gravel. The problem with gravel's texture is that it looks so similar to dirt's in this, you know, texture pack. And that's the only problem, I tell you. That is the only problem. Do I actually have dirt set up in the storage area? I have a lot of the items sorted out. But I don't think I ever got to dirt. I should have really, you know, got to dirt, to be honest. Alright. You know what, that'll be something I'd be able to get into another time. Our storage area, because it is not looking the best, I tell you. I'm actually thinking about doing a similar thing to what we already have. But having it is that we have chests. It's got to be very hard to tell what, you know, thing belongs to which. It would have to be 3 blocks wide between each section. It'll be double chests going down the middle, and it'll be the first chest would be the second, you know, block. Second chest would be the third, well, second, you brain work. Ah. Actually, I'm going the wrong way. Going the wrong way. Oops. Let me just eat all this. Alright. Place that back to where it's supposed to be. So, let us go and grab the dirt that we need to finish off the dirt area of that, you know, part of Walkerstown. I'm probably gonna need a lot more, to be honest. A lot more. Let me shove this in here. That's about 3 stacks. That is barely enough, to be honest. That is barely enough. Alright, I know there's dirt around here because I did see it earlier. That's why I knew it came over here. Alright, just shove all of that in here. This is gathered up from... You know what, I'm never sure where some of this is gathered up from. I know where a lot of the dirt comes from, and that's, you know, build projects. There we go. We're actually, you know, restocking our entire backpack here almost. And dirt in here. I was about to grab that gravel layer. And there's dirt here. There we go. Grab the last of that grass. This is actually a very good stock of dirt, to be honest. I was very surprised on how much dirt I actually had here. Yeah, the middle sections are very empty. Dirt from me previously coming through here for stone. I was wondering why I had pink concrete in there. Was wondering why I had pink concrete in there. Wait 1 second. Sorry, I was just checking something there. Alright. So, let us head on back to Voxtown. We have to make the little bit over the water there. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt, to be honest. Are we near Voxtown? We're to the north of Voxtown, so I would just... Bam. There we go. Perfect, perfect. Alright. Now let us get out of this water. I should really have done what I did over there. And that is to have that little bit that comes out there. Get on top of the lily pad. Please. Thank you. And that is make a few of these. I feel like I could have done one right here. I'll probably do one there. There's a spider underneath that little bit there. I don't understand why or how they get down there sometimes. And it's really annoying. It is really annoying. But we're going to try and do as much of this as possible today. And that is to fill in a lot of this. A lot of this area you will see a lot of trees being popping up around here in the future. And I'm looking quite forward to that. I need to figure out what I'm doing right there. Let's see. I plan to do a build here. I could try my hand at an artificial tree, to be honest. I feel like that could be nice. I think I might give my, you know, self a try at that. Building an artificial tree. I do see that. And then we could also do a build here. And then I can stretch that build that I was planning to do right next to it over here and make it come out a little bit further. And then a lot of this area here will just be a lot of trees and probably some boulders, you know, just scattered around. I need to actually work on my boulder skills because I am terrible at building boulders. I just do not build them that often, that's what I'm going to say. I just don't build them that often. Oops. I lost him there for a second. Bam. There we go. I'm just breaking these lights now before I go and break these fully. These walls fully down. Alright. So let us go and break these. Also, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to do the stream post. I was going to be streaming on what do you call it, Twitter and Blue Sky and all that. How could I? How could I? I forgot. It's not my fault. Alrighty, right. So let us go and break the rest of this. That's a lot of stone that I've gotten from this. Well, cobblestone walls. I'll say stone walls, but I don't think stone walls exist just yet in this update. There's also a little bit of annoying. Oh, you know what? I never realised. Oh, this is all getting prolonged by this water here. I could do a, you know, kind of weird thing here. That is to do that. Bam. That should stop the water. I'll just do that as well. I can't remember if this is natural or not natural. That is a very, you know, that is a very, there. I'm not sure. Alrighty, right. So, I think we'll actually get to planning the next sector out. So what we're doing here is actually building the next bit that will be here. Somewhere around this, you know, wide. That's actually not too bad, actually. That is not too bad. I'm doing this out grass block, so it's a little bit faster it, you know, grows. Alright, I do see that actually not looking too bad. So I do kind of feel like this bit up here should be just further out. If I'm just being honest. This bit looks a little bit too crinkly. It kind of looks like, what do you call it? Oops. You know what, I've really got to have to remove these torches. Oops, no, that's not what I was supposed to do there. That is not what I wanted to do there either. Place that there. I want to place a block on top and then I want to place the torch. That is what I'm planning on doing. I made a oopsie already. Also, this is a little bit too high. There we go. Not too bad at all. And place that there. And I could wrap this a little bit further out. And then do something like that. And then we can fill up that gap there. That's actually not looking too bad, actually. I ran out of dirt. Let me grab some more dirt. We have tons of dirt now. You wouldn't think I ran out of dirt earlier with this amount of dirt that I have on me. But most of the dirt has just went into Voxtown. Also, let me check the time for... Oh, we've just went over the, you know, mark for the end of today's episode, actually. But I will break these before the end of today's episode. Skim that back, you know, extra dirt, need that. Alright, so that is where we're going to end off for today's episode. And I'll see you next episode. Have a nice day, stay safe, possible. It's just... Wait, I messed up there. Have a nice day, stay safe, possible. Maybe someone just needs the vitamins, very important. Everybody stay safe, have a nice day, bye bye!